はい、こんにちは。ちょっとね、英語の勉強だいぶ煮詰まってるっていうか、リスニングが伸びないんで、ちょっとリスニングの勉強として、ちょっと英文の音読をしようと思いました。ちょっとね、まずはウィキペディアかなんかをね、ちょっと読んでいこうかなと思いました。多分勉強になる。いや、わかんない。わかんないけどね、音読意味ないとか言ってる人もいるんだけど、まあなんていうこの文章を読み取れたかどうかを確認して何回も同じものを聞いてくださいとかって言ってくるやつが多くて、そんなことやってたらさ、文章のパターンが増えないでしょ。全然同じのずっとぐるぐるぐるぐるやってるわけでしょ。それじゃねダメなんですよ。リスニングの強化にならないのね、結局。結局そのバリエーション、英語の文章のバリエーションに全然対応できてないから、知ってる文章がそもそも少ないから聞き取れないわけでしょ。正直ね、日本人でもその日本語の文章たまに何言ってんだか分かんないことってあると思うんだよ。で、なんで分かんないのかっつったら、その喋ってる人の言ってるその文章のパターンっていうのが自分の記憶の中に過去にね、その受け取ったような文章として存在しないからだと思うんだよね。だからそれと同じじゃん。英語だってそうでしょ。結局その自分の知ってるパターンの単語とか、その文章の組み合わせだけの話だけしてくれるんだったら、その全然普通に聞き取れるんだよ。日本人だって誰だってね。やっぱそこの違いだと思うんですよね。なのでちょっとウィキペディア読んでいこうかなと思います。ちょっと押井監督の記事を読みましょう。守押井守, born 8th August 1951, is a Japanese filmmaker, television director and writer, famous for his philosophy-oriented storytelling. Oshii has directed a number of acclaimed anime films, including Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer 1984, Angel's Egg 1985, Patlabor 2, the movie 1993, and Ghost in the Shell 1995. He also holds the distinction of having created the first ever OVA, Dallas 1983, as a writer. She has worked as a screenwriter and occasionally as a manga writer and a novelist. His most notable works as a writer includes the manga Kerberos Panzer Cop 1988 to 2000 and its feature film adaptation Jinro the Wolf Brigade 1999. For his work, Oshii has received and been nominated for numerous awards, including the Palme d'Or and the Golden Lion. He has also attracted praise from many directors, including James Cameron and the Wachowskis. Early career, 1977 from 1997 to 1982. As a student, Mamoru Oshii was fascinated by the film La Duty by Chris Marker. He also repeatedly watched European cinema, such as films by Federico Fellini, Ingmar Bergman, Michelangelo Antonioni, and Jean-Pierre Melville. These filmmakers, together with Jean-Luc Godard, Andrei Tarkovsky, and Jerzy Cavallero, would later serve as influences for Oshii's own cinematic career. He was also influenced by his father, who was a cinephile. In 1976, he graduated from Tokyo Gakugei University. The following year, he entered Tatsunoko Productions and worked on his first anime as a storyboard artist on Ippatsu Kantakun. During his period at Tatsunoko, Oshii worked on many anime as a storyboard artist, most of which were a part of the Time Bokan television series in 1980. In 1980, he moved to Studio Pierrot, under the supervision of his mentor, Hisayuki Toriumi. Success with Urusei Yatsura from 1981 to 1984. Mamoru Oshii's work as director and storyboard artist of the animated Urusei Yatsura TV series brought him into the spotlight. Following its success, he directed two Urusei Yatsura films, Urusei Yatsura Only You, 1983, and Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer, 1984. The first film, through an original story, continued much in the spirit of the series. Beautiful Dreamer was also written by Oshii with no consultation from Takahashi, and was a significant departure and an early example of his now contemporary style. Beautiful Dreamer is also notable for experimenting with concepts with a time loop, where a high school class relives the same day over and over again, as well as dreams and reality manipulation. Dallas, Lupin, Angel's Egg and Anchor, from 1983 to 1985. In the midst of his work with Studio Pierrot, Oshii took on independent work and directed the first OVA, Dallas, in 1983. In 1984, Oshii left Studio Pierrot. Around this time, Oshii was hired to direct the movie for Lupin III for summer 1985, for which he started writing a column in Anime magazine in December 1984. However, his proposal for it was very eccentric, with the producers from Yomiuri TV and Toho opposed his vision of the film, saying that it made no sense. The film had been widely advertised with Oshii's name attached to it, and with the project based around him. They could not make the film without his proposal getting approved, and it was cancelled. He would later go on to reuse themes and concepts he had came up with for the movie in later works such as Angel's Egg, Ghost in the Shell, and Manipulate Pat Raver movies. 009 Re-Cyborg, which was directed by Kenji Kamiyama, a student of Oshii, was also heavily influenced by the themes of Oshii's Lupin, reusing some of its plot. Moving to Studio Dean, Oshii wrote and directed Angel's Egg, 1985, a surreal film rich with biblical symbolism, featuring the character designs of Yoshitaka Amano, a producer of the film. Toshio Suzuki later founded the renowned Studio Ghibli with Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Tanaka. Following the release of the film, Miyazaki and Tanaka began collaborating with Mamoru Oshii on his next film, Anchor. The film was cancelled early in the initial planning stages when the trio had artistic disagreements. Despite their differences, Toshio Suzuki and Studio Ghibli would later help Oshii with his production of Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, 2004. To this day, Oshii maintains skeptical but respectful views of each of Takahata and Miyazaki's film. Though he has been critical of Miyazaki's attitude towards his workers, He also claims that he would feel strangely empty and it would be boring of both Miyazaki and Takahata stopped making films. Hot Labor and live action from 1987 to 1993. In the late 1980s, Oshii was solicited by his friend Kazunori Ito to join Headgear as a director. The group was composed of Kazunori Ito, screenwriter, Masami Yuki, manga artist, Yutaka Izubuchi, mechanical designer, Akemi Takara, character designer, and Mamoru Oshii, director. Together they were responsible for the Hot Labor TV series OVA and films released in the midst of Japan's economic crisis. The Hot Labor series and films projected a dynamic near-future world in which grave social crisis and ecological challenges were overcome by technological ingenuity and were a big success in the mecha genre. Between production of the Hot Labor movie series, Oshii delved into live action for the first time, relating his first non-animated film, The Red Spectacles, 1987. This led to another live-action work titled Stray Dog, Cowboys Panther Cops, 1991. Both films are part of Oshii's ongoing Cowboy saga. Following Stray Dog, Oshii made yet another live-action film, Talking Head, 1992, which is a surreal look at his view on film. Ghost in the Shell and international acclaim, from 1995 to 2008. In 1995, Mamoru Oshii released his landmark animated cyberpunk film, Ghost in the Shell, in Japan, the United States and Europe, and hit the top of the US Billboard video charts in 1996, the first anime video ever to do so. Concerning a female cyborg desperate to find the meaning of her existence. The film was a critical success and is widely regarded to be a masterpiece and an anime classic. Additionally, Oshii said that creating a Ghost in the Shell allowed him to finally get over Lupin. However, he continued to reuse themes and concepts from the film in later works. After a 5-year hiatus from directing to work on other projects, Oshii returned to live action with the Japanese polish of Future Avalon 2001, which was selected for an out-of-competition screening at the Cannes Film Festival. His next animated feature film was the longer-awaited sequel to Ghost in the Shell, titled Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence. 4 years in the making, the film focuses on battle as he investigates a series of gruesome murders while trying to reconcile with his deteriorating humanity. Through it received mixed reviews, Innocence was selected to compete at the 2004 Cannes Film Festival for the covered Palme d'Or prize, making it the first, and thus far only, anime to be so honored. Oshii was approached to one of the directors of the Animatrix, but he was unable to participate because of his work in Innocence. Following Innocence, Oshii also contemplated directing a segment for the the anthology film Powers to Tame, but ultimately declined the offer. Meanwhile, in 2005, there were talks of Kenta Fukasaku and Oshii collaboration. It was announced that Oshii would write the script for a film titled L is Burning, as well as provide CGI consultation while Fukasaku would direct. Although Oshii completed the script, the film was ultimately shelved because, among other problems, the large budget it would require. Oshii's next film, The Skycrawlers, 2008, competed for the Golden Lion in the Venice Film Festival. Subsequent to The Skycrawlers, Oshii wrote the screenplay to the production IG film Musashi, The Dream of the Last Samurai, which has been described as positively the first ever anime documentary. 疲れる。英語読むの疲れる。Return to live action and the anime directing hiatus from 2009 to present. In 2009, he wrote and directed the live-action Future Assault Girls and served as a creative director for the production IG, produced a segment of the animated short film anthology Halo Legend in 2010. Oshii announced his next film will be an adaptation of Mitsuteru Yokoyama's Tetsujin 28 manga. The Tetsujin 28 project turned out to be a live-action film called 28 1 Second. In 2012, Oshii announced that he was working on a new live-action film. He will be writing and directing the military science fiction thriller Gun Wars: The Last Read. The film's trailer was released in September 2014, and the premiere screening was held in the following month at the 27th Tokyo International Film Festival. He followed with the live-action film Tokyo Mukokuseki Shoujo, a suspense thriller released in July 2015. In March 2017, Toonami began airing Sand Whale and Me, a live-action micro-series directed by Oshii. In June 2019, Oshii announced his newest project, Red Lab, a comedy series that he described as a girl meets girl story about the vampire. The project also departs from the Japanese Anime Wars production committee system because Oshii is backed by a single investor, real estate company Ichigo Inc. As of 2009, Oshii lived in Atami, Shizuoka Prefecture, Japan with his dog, a mutt named Daniel. 2009年の時点で熱海に住んでます。今でも住んでます、多分。Style. Oshii has started his approach to directing. It is in direct contrast to what he perceives to be the Hollywood formula, i.e., he regards the visuals as the most important aspect, followed by the story and the characters come last. He also notes that his main motivation in making films is to create worlds different from our own. Mamoru Oshii's films typically open with an action sequence. Thereafter, the film usually follows a much slower rhythm, punctured by several sequences of first action. Oshii also frequently inserts a montage sequence in each of his movies, typically 2 minutes long, muted dialogue and set against the backdrop of Kenji Kawai's music. Recurrent imagery include reflections, mirrors, flocks of birds, and basset hounds similar to his own. The basset hound was seen most prominently Ghost in the Shell to Innocence and was a major plot point in his live-action film Avalon. Oshii is especially noted for how he significantly strays from the source material his films are based on, such as in his adaptation of Urusei Yatsura, Patraiba, and Ghost in the Shell. In the original manga versions, these 3 titles exhibit a mood that was more along the lines of frantic slapstick comedy, Urusei Yatsura, or a convivial dramedy, Patraiba, Ghost in the Shell. Oshii, in adapting their works, created a slower and darker atmosphere, especially noticeable in Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer, and Patraiba, the movie. For the Ghost in the Shell movie, Oshii elected to leave out the humor and character banter of Masamune Shiro's original manga. Oshii's work steers clear of such stereotypes in both images and sexual orientation, wrote Andres Bergen. In an article on Oshii that appeared in Japan's Daily Yomiuri newspaper in 2004, his movies were dark, thought-provoking, minimalist diatribes with an underlying complexity. At the same time, he pushes the perimeters of technology when it comes to the medium itself. Character design plays equitable importance. Oshii also wrote and directed several animated movies and live-action films based on his personal political views, influenced by the ample protests of the 1960s and 1970s in which he participated. The ample protests were protests during 1960s Japan against the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. The first film to touch on this political background was the live-action film The Red Spectacles. This film set in the same world as the Oshii scripted film Jinro, The Wolf Brigade, 1999, is about the former member of the special unit of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Force dealing with the fascist government. 疲れた。どこまで続くのこの記事。Influence. The Wachowskis are known to have been impressed with Ghost in the Shell and went as far as to screen it to producer Joel Silver to show him what kind of film they wanted to make for The Matrix. Indeed, various scenes from Ghost in the Shell have been seemingly lifted and transported in The Matrix. Ghost in the Shell was also the chief inspiration for the video game Oni. His 1984 anime film Urusei Yatsura 2 Beautiful Dreamer, which experimented which with concepts with time loop, dreams, and reality manipulation, has drawn comparisons to later films including Groundhog Day 1993 and Dark City 1998, and is believed to have influenced these films. Kenji Kamiyama, the director of the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex television series, considers Oshii his mentor, and states that he totally tried to copy Oshii's style when creating the standalone complex series. Many have also noted the similarities in the Helga's design from the Killzone series of video games to the Kerberos Panzer project gear. First seen in the 1987 film content, the Helgast design was inspired by the gas masks of World War I. Though this does not account for the similarity in the glowing red-orange eyes between the two designs. James Cameron is another filmmaker who has voiced his admiration for Oshii, stating at the point that Avalon was the most artistic, beautiful, and stylish sci-fi film. He also praised Ghost in the Shell, stating it was the first truly adult animation film to reach a level of literary and visual excellence. Collaboration. Mamoru Oshii has worked extensively with Production IG. Every animated film he has made since Part Label the movie 1989 has been produced under the studio. He also worked closely with screenwriter Kazunori Ito. They made 5 films together, beginning with The Red Spectacles and ending with Avalon. His closest colleague, however, is music composer Kenji Kawai. Kawai has composed most of the music in Oshii's work, including 10 of his feature films. According to Oshii, Kenji Kawai's music is responsible for 50% of his film's success, and he can't do anything without Kenji Kawai. Kerberos Saga. Further information on the Kerberos Saga. 1980s, the Kerberos Saga is Mamoru Oshii's life work, created in 1986, a military science fiction franchise and alternate history universe. It spans all media and has lasted for more than 20 years since his January 1987 radio drama While We're Waiting for the Red Spectacles. In 1987, Oshii released The Red Spectacles, his first live-action feature and the first Kerberos Saga film. The manga adaptation, Kerberos Panzer Cup, written by Mamoru Oshii and illustrated by Kamui Fujiwara, was serialized in 1988 until 1990s. Acts from 1 to 4 as Kerberos Panzer Cup was compiled in 1990 as a single volume. In 1991, the live-action film adaptation of the tankobon was released as Stray Dog Kerberos Panzer Cups. In 1999, the Oshii scripted Jinro the Wolf Brigade. The anime feature film adaptation of the manga's first volume was directed by Oshii's collaborator Hiroyuki Okiura and was released in international film festivals starting in France. 2000. In 2000, the second part of the manga, acts from 5 to 8, was serialized, then published and compiled as the second volume. After the manga's compilation and publishing as volumes 1 and 2, Jinro the Wolf Brigade was finally released in Japan during the same year. In 2003, Cavalry's Panther Cup sequel, Cavalry Saga Rainy Dogs, was serialized, then compiled as a single volume in 2005. In 2006, Cavalry's Panzer Jaeger was broadcast in Japan as a 20-year collaboration of the saga. The same year, Oshii revealed his plan to release an anime 3D CG adaptation film of the drama in 2009. The Cavalry's Panzer Blitzkrieg project. In late 2006, Oshii launched the Cavalry Saga crossover manga series titled Cavalrys and Tachiguishi. Other work. In addition to his directing work, Oshii is a prolific screenwriter and author of manga and novels, as well as writing the Cavalry series of manga. Oshii wrote the script for the manga Seraphim 266613336, which is originally illustrated by Satoshi Kon. Their collaboration was difficult due to artistic differences over the development of the story, and the Seraphim was not completed. Part 1 was serialized in 16 installments in the May 1994 through November 1995 issues of monthly Animation. Following Satoshi Kon's death in 2010, it was partially reissued in a special memorial supplement of monthly comic review and published in comic book form the same year. Oshii has since worked on the Seraphim Prologue, the Three Wise Men's Workshop volume, which illustrations by Katsuya Terada, released by Tokuma Shoten as another real supplement. Oshii also wrote the screenplay of Jinro the Wolf Brigade and is credited as a co-planner for Blood the Last Vampire 2000 and Blood Plus. Oshii also wrote the first tie-in novel for the film entitled Blood the Last Vampire. Night of the Beast. It was published originally in Japan in October of 2000 and later received an English translated North American release in November 23, 2005. She is also credited as providing story concept for Ghost in the Shell SAC Second Gig. He describes his role as the supervision of the entire series and being responsible for writing the plot of each of the show's episodes. In 2005, Oshii served as the supervisor for the Mobile Police Patrol Comes Back mini patrol video game. In 2008, he again served as a special consultant for the development of a video game, The Skycrawler's Innocent Aces. 文語読んでもな、ちょっときりねえな。会話を読みたいな、誰かのインタビューを。 あインタビューをちょっと探しますね、何かね。よし、じゃあちょっとパッキャオのインタビューをちょっと読みましょうね。これ読んだら一回止めますね。もう誰も聞いてないだろうけど。あ、聞いてるか。すいません。ちょっと。マニー・パッキャオのインタビューね。In May, Pac-Man as Pacquiao is known. Added yet another landslide victory to his resume, his time a political one, which he was elected congressman to the Sarangani province in the Philippines. For followers of Philippine politics, he defeated Roy Chombian of the ruling Chombian family, which had been in power for more than 2 decades by a nearly 2-1 margin. Pacquiao is also a sergeant major in the Philippines Army Reserve, and he recently completed his first starring role in a feature film, Pac-Man, which was released in his home country last year, and it's rumored to be in talks with Sylvester Stallone about developing a movie starring both of them. これいつの記事 ?2010 年か、11年前ですね。Following Pacquiao's defeat of Clottey and Mayweather's hard-fought victory over Shane Mosley in early May, a meeting between the two champions seems at a first time to have inched closer to becoming a reality. We spoke with Pacquiao while he was at home in the Philippines. 次。ここから会話ですね。Floyd Mayweather is also a good fighter. He has different styles than the fighters I've fought. He'll run and run and run and then run again. But I know that I'm faster and stronger Manny Pacquiao. はい。だいぶディスってるね。Dimitri Alich, you're the pride of the Philippines. They even put you on a postage stamp. What happens when you walk down the street in the Philippines today? Manny Pacquiao, I can't walk down the streets. It's very difficult. I can't go to the mall. I have to go to hotels just to have a meal. Everybody wants to say hi and say thank you and congratulate me, so it's very difficult. Your hand speed is legendary. How do you account for it? Pacquiao, most of it, all of it is God-given. But in our training, the coach, Master Freddie Roach and I do. We like to focus on my advantages and my strengths and better them, so that those advantages are even greater against my opponent. Rather than trying to play to his game or to better my power, I'm much more focused on my speed, so that the disparity is even greater against whoever I fight. Ehrlich. It's been said that the boxing is the art of hitting the other guy without letting him hit you, but you don't seem afraid to take a punch. Pacquiao, getting hit is part of what we signed up for. It's something that I know is going to happen when I get in the ring. I actually look forward to it because it's something that I know people love. People like that kind of style. It's important for me to win the fight, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to show people who spend their hard-earned money that they can be entertained by the way I fight. Olich, now you have managed to hold titles in 7 weight classes so far, something that nobody else in the history of the sport has ever done. Does there come a point at which you just feel like you cannot possibly face an opponent who's naturally much heavier than you? Pacquiao. My first fight was at 108 pounds, but I was only 96 pounds. I was 16 years old. The last fight I fought at the 145. I'm growing still. My body is getting bigger. I walk around at maybe 150 to 155 naturally. I think this will be my maximum because the guys are bigger and heavier at 154 pounds. Olich. Yeah, how tall are you? Pacquiao. I'm 5'6" and half, 5'7". Olich. What are you thinking about when you were in the ring? Pacquiao. I think you can see in the cutoff fight the first 4 or 5 rounds, I was letting him hit me. I was just standing there taking his punches. That was part of my mental conditioning to show him that no matter what he does, no matter what kind of punches he throws, I'm not going to get hurt and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to come forward and try to beat him. I think that it shows by the 6th round that he couldn't hurt me. Earlich, everyone's anticipating a possible bout between you and Floyd Mayweather Jr. What are the challenges in your facing him that are specific to him? まだそのメイウェザー戦やる前のインタビューですね。Pacquiao. Floyd is also a good fighter. He has different styles than the fighters I've fought. He'll run and run and run and then run again. So it's just a matter of me chasing. Master Freddy will have to come up with a good game plan so that we can cut off the ring and get him to trade punches with me. But I know that I'm faster and stronger. まあその通りだったと思うけどね。Ehrlich, I understand why you got the nickname Pac-Man from your last name, but you've also been called the Executioner because you fought a lot of Mexican fighters. Is there an element of ethnic rivalry between Mexican and Filipino fighters? Pacquiao. No, I fought 8 or 10 fighters in a row where I fought Mexican Americans or Mexicans, and I'm able to see that the Mexicans appreciate my style because a lot of them are rooting for me. I have lots of Mexican friends, and some of my sparring partners and even guys I've fought who are Mexican have said to me that I fight like Mexican. So it's an honor to have friends and to have the respect in other countries. No, I'm not a Executioner. I'm only Pac-Man. まあ、確かにね、パキャオのスタイルにはかなりメキシカンスタイルが入ってますね。それはその通りだと思う。Ehrlich, fighting Mexican style means basically to stand there and weave without dancing away, right? Pacquiao, I think it just hurt. They've shown that they don't back down. They don't quit. They don't care. They stand in there and trade punches. Ehrlich, I was watching some of your sparring tapes and it looks like you go pretty hard. You knocked one of your sparring partners to the mat with the body shot. Pacquiao, normally we have 4 different people trying different things. We have guys for speed, we have guys for power, we have the brawlers, the guys that like to power. We have to be ready for anything in the ring. Ehrlich, so you specifically get in the ring with people who are throwing elbows and hitting blows about? Yes. Depending on the opponent, we have to know what kind of tactic to do against something like that. Just in case that happens. のらりくらりだな、答えがな。まあ場合によるみたいなことをずっと言ってますね。Ehrlich, speaking of shady businesses, you are also in the music industry. You are a multi-personal recording artist in the Philippines. How did you get into singing? Pacquiao, I don't know the number, but yes, people buy my album here in the Philippines. My concert was a success in America. After the fight with Caro, a lot of people came. I was kind of amazed that you scheduled the performance immediately after a 12 round fight. Did you ever think maybe I won't really be up for singing on stage? What if you'd been badly beaten? Pacquiao, you can't think of it that way. You have to always think positive. I had fun. It's very relaxing for me to sing. It's a good break from the hard training and the fighting. I've come out with 2 CDs. We are gonna come out with an English album too. I sing mostly ballads and a little bit of rock. That's what's popular here in the Philippines. Ehrlich, what would you say has been the toughest fight you've had so far, and why? Pacquiao, the toughest were probably with Miguel Cotto. He is a very tough fighter. It took me a while to get used to the style. The fights with Manuel Marquez and Eric Morales were also difficult. The best fight, the best performance I think I've had was against Oscar De La Hoya. I think that was my best night, followed by my fight with Ricky Hatton and then Cotto. Ehrlich, it's interesting that you say the Cotto was the toughest fight, even though you didn't lose it. You have lost one or two before, but the toughest one you actually won. Pacquiao, he's a tough guy. He just keeps coming. He wouldn't go down. Ehrlich, have you ever been involved as an adult in a fight outside the ring? Not in the last 15 years. リング外での戦いに巻き込まれたことがありますか？ 過去15年ぐらいはないねってことはその前はあったってことなんだなフィリピン時代ですね、おそらくはね。Alex, tell me about your political career. Pacquiao, I've learned a lot from politics. It's a very dirty business here in the Philippines. That's the reason I'm in it now, to change the view of it. And the overall way of politics here in the Philippines, I'm coming in as somebody who already has money, who doesn't need money, number one, doesn't need to be corrupt, doesn't need to take advantage of people, but also somebody who has been there to help the people who are suffering, and that's where I was, to show them that it can be done. まあ汚職が多いと。What was your childhood like, Pacquiao? We were very, 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 very poor. Sometimes we had one piece of fish for the entire day. Sometimes we just had rice. We mixed it with water so that we could have a little bit of a piece, or a little bit of a soup. We call it ngao here in the Philippines. It's just rice broth. It was very difficult. That's why I had to work when I was very young, to help support my family, to help my brothers and my sister go to school. It was a very difficult time. That's how I grew up. Ulrich, what jobs did you do? Pacquiao, I worked in construction in a factory sewing clothes. I also sold flowers and donuts, just odd jobs to try to make 10 pesos, which is equivalent to 20 cents. Ulrich, Forbes says that you earned $40 million last year. How much have you earned in your career so far as a professional boxer? Pacquiao, I don't know how much exactly I've earned. I think the IRS knows how much I've earned. 自分では全部のね収入は把握してないよね。Ulrich, despite your popularity, you had to bring a lawsuit against the newspaper in the Philippines that wrote an article claiming that you were a compulsive gambler. Do you actually gamble? Pacquiao, I used to play a little bit for fun. It's okay to play poker, but not to the point where it's hurting me, my family, or my income. まあギャンブルハマってたね時代ありましたね。はい。Ulrich, the house you grew up in, did it have running water? Pacquiao, we were in a one-bedroom hut made of bamboo and cardboard. Ulrich, a dirt floor? Pacquiao, yes. Ulrich, was there running water? Pacquiao, no. 貧困状態について聞きすぎだろ。失礼だろうなこれな。家に水道は引かれてましたかって聞いて、それにパキョがなんかあんまりはぐらかしてんだよね、要するにね。まあ部屋が1個しかなくて、で、小屋みたいなもんで、その竹と段ボールだけで作られた家だったって言ってて、で下は床はないんですよね、その土ですよねって聞いたら、そうだよって言って、で水は引かれてたんですか、水道は引かれてたんですかってわざわざ聞いて、いやない、それは引かれてないよっていうふうに言ってますね。Ulrich, so you've gone from living in a dirt floored hut with no running water to being one of the richest people in the Philippines. Do you ever wake up sometimes and think, is this really happening? Pacquiao. Yes, sometimes I also question, God, why me? Am I special in any way? I'm just appreciative of everything that has happened in my life. I'm overwhelmed sometimes by this. When I see where I grew up and the places I've been, it puts a smile on my face because of all the people there I can help. I give them food, I give them money, I try to provide them with a good lifestyle and do the best I can because that's where I came from. Those are my people. いい言葉だね。はい。ね。まあフィリピンの国民を助けるために何でもしたいとね。貧しい人はたくさんいて、なんでそういうことをするのかっていうと、自分がそもそもそういう人間だったからね、子供の頃ねっていうことなんだよね。まあ当たり前のことなんだけれども、そのいい言葉ですね。はい。Olich, when you were young, did you know it was going to happen? Pacquiao, I always knew I would be world champion. Wow! いつでも世界チャンピオンになれると思ってたっていうふうに言ってますね。Ehrlich, now you are also a segment major in the Philippine Army Reserve. When was the last time you actually put the uniform on? Pacquiao, maybe a year ago. We had special awards for one of our generals, and I came to visit and gave him his award. But I'm ready to fight for my country. I've always fight for my country in my own way, showing the Filipinos are strong people and can do anything that they put their minds to. But if the army needs me, I'm ready, always ready. なるほど。まあ割と予想通りのインタビューだったけどね。なるほど。勉強になりました。ご視聴ありがとうございました。